MMA Marketing's origin story and my passion to help you grow came from a very painful moment in my life. But how did I go from wanting to die in 2019 to now having found what I always wanted, inner peace? What was the reason I decided to leave behind my lofty profession as a behavioral science researcher, helping major companies grow, embrace entrepreneurship for a second time, and risk my family's livelihood all to serve you, martial arts school owners? Let's start with 2008, one of the most pivotal years in my life. January of 2008 is when I joined the Marine Corps. And there are several reasons why I joined, but one of the main reasons is for gratitude. So let me explain a little bit what do I mean by that. My parents in 1978 migrated to New York City from Mexico in order to redo their lives, seeking a better future. And being able to be born here, see my parents prosper, really made me want to be grateful to this country. And I really appreciate everything that this country did for them and the opportunity that I gave them. So I only thought that it was fair that I joined and I served my nation. Which brings me to my next point, right, is that when 9/11 happened in 2001, I was actually in high school in New York City, only a couple of miles away from that disastrous moment, and being able to see firsthand the damage that 9/11 did to my city, to my people, it really made me want to go and serve my nation and be able to defend my country. It became a lot more personal for me to join the Marine Corps. And the other thing was that I also needed structure. Um, since I was a kid, I had a difficult time following orders. I always did things my way. Even though I got stuff done, it wasn't always the cleanest way. It was messy, and I felt like I needed structure in my life. I didn't know where to get it from. I had a lot of confrontations with my parents, even though my father was in the military and law enforcement. He tried to put in that structure in me, but I constantly rebelled against him. And I felt like I needed that structure to be able to live a more effective life. And I don't know, I think that even though I rebelled against my dad and I gave him a hard time, I always knew that structure was important. Discipline, right? Um, and yes, so I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. And in my time, I deployed. I deployed to Iraq in 2009. I was in Ramadi and several other areas of operation nearby. And then in 2011, I volunteered to go to Afghanistan. And that, well, I think both of them were really eventful. Let's just say, let's just say that, very eventful deployments that, needless to say, I didn't come back the same. I think one of the biggest issues was that I came back with PTSD in 2009, and I just didn't want to tell anybody, and I thought that it was a sign of weakness, and I just had the urge to go back and get back in the fight, and that's why I volunteered to go in 2011. But yeah, those deployments really took a toll on me. So from the time I got out from the Marine Corps to 2019, which was the next pivotal year in my life, uh, I struggled a lot with PTSD. I didn't want my family to know. I didn't want really anybody to 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 really know that I was struggling a lot. I didn't like that label. Uh, I struggled a lot with the fact that I was having a lot of mental issues. Uh, I think that if I'm really honest, I try to distract myself and suppress those feelings of PTSD in other things. Like, for example, I threw myself completely into school. I finished a degree that normally takes 4 years. I did it in three. Then after that, I got myself busy with work. Then I got myself busy with another business. And I did all of that just to run away um, from my problems, from my mental health issues. Uh, I thought really that acknowledging PTSD was a sign of weakness, and I didn't want to be weak. My father taught me that we as men, we're the rock of the family, we're the foundation, and we are the ones that take care of our family. We help them with their problems. They don't come and help us with my problems. And, you know, thinking that it was a sign of strength not to admit that I had these issues was completely the opposite. I later on realized that, you know, it takes a lot of strength to be able to recognize your weaknesses. And I'm not proud of it, right? But, you know, I did hurt my family a lot. Unfortunately, because I didn't deal with PTSD, it ended up dealing with me, and it ended up coming in the most inappropriate, the worst times, right? And I ended up hurting a lot of people in my life. I hurt, my kid's mom. I hurt my family, and you know, it was really difficult. So, 2019 was the year that my kid's mom told me that she wanted to get divorced. I felt like when that happened, my world literally crumbled down. Uh, Even thinking about it now, like I remember the pain, and I can almost feel it again. It was really tough. I felt like I had destroyed my family. I felt like I lost my family. I went spiraling down, to a very dark world where, I didn't want to live anymore. I couldn't take this pain that I was walking around with all the time. And then on top of that, knowing that I had a big hand in my family coming apart and in my head being destroyed. I lost everything. I had to move out of the apartment where I was living with my kid's mom at the time. And I went from living in a luxury apartment to literally living at my mom's house back in New York City, because I used to live in New Jersey. Back in New York City and sleeping on a futon. I literally had to pull the futon out and just drop it on the floor, and I slept there, and I lived out of cardboard boxes. And I think that it was such a humbling moment, but at the time I saw it as such a humiliating moment to being where I was at the time, working in finance, working in Wall Street, to now, being here and having lost it all. Which also, by the way, in a matter of a month, I lost my job. My kid's mom asked me for a divorce, and at the time I had a startup. I ran out of money and I lost the startup. So those three things just literally came within a matter of 3 weeks. And just being in a moment where I had lost it all, it really caused me to spiral down, and I just didn't want to live. And I remember my mom looking at me. I was depressed, sitting down, on the couch, and she said, "I understand that it's painful, because I went through a divorce as well, but you have to find a way to fight through the pain. Your kids need you. You gotta fight for them. If you can muster the strength to fight for yourself, you gotta do it for them. They need you." And I think that's really what pushed me to go seek for therapy, and seek help at therapy. And I finally had to embrace my demons. I had to embrace everything that I was running away from, because I wanted to be there for my kids. And I gotta say that going into therapy, having to swallow my own ego and asking for help was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But I did it because I really care about my kids, and I finally had enough. Like, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, as corny as that sounds, but I gotta say that that's the truth. And so My therapist journey, at least in the beginning, it was very difficult. Like I mentioned before, having to um, take ownership of the damage that I did, of the person that I was, of the things that I had run for a long, long time. Uh, Having to talk to someone about the traumatic events that I experienced in Iraq and Afghanistan and the impact that it had on me, and try to figure out how did that affect me mentally and emotionally to the way that it led me to behave the way that I behaved. Having that awakening was extremely painful. Um, I remember telling my therapist that I wasn't sure in the beginning if I was going to keep on coming to therapy because honestly, I felt worse after I came out of there than when I stepped in. And, you know, I remember telling her, like, look, I'm not a person to quit, but I don't think I can keep on doing this. Like, this is leaving me drained every time I come out of here, and I feel worse. Like, I don't think I don't know. I don't know if I can keep on going. And so my therapist at that time gave me one of the best advice she can give me, and well, it's a kind of like a two-pronged advice, right? Like the first thing was, this is not easy. Um, you have to take ownership of the things you did, and it is important that you don't bullshit yourself, and that you really look at yourself in the mirror and acknowledge, what's going on, and that that you find something that you love to do or that you want to do, and you do that in this process, right, as you're doing therapy. And whatever it is that you have always wanted to do, go and try to do that now so that you can look forward to that as you incorporate it some way, somehow in your therapy journey. And, for me as a kid, growing up, seeing my brother do martial arts, and he is a black belt in Taekwondo. So seeing him do all this stuff at home always put that little bug in me, right? And at the time, and probably I'm already dating myself, which I am pretty old. But, when I was growing up, there are all these movies of Jean-Claude Van Damme coming out and Karate Kid and all that stuff. And, I got really excited. And I just thought about all of that. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm a grown up now. I think it'll be a cool time to do martial arts. And so I ended up going to the VA. So those who don't know, it's the Veterans Affairs Department is basically where we, the veterans, go. It's like our own hospital, right? So I went there because I had to do a checkup, and I saw a sign that said something about, providing martial arts. It was like karate classes free for veterans. And I decided to, take a picture of the sign and go check it out. Fortunately for me, it actually wasn't too far from the VA that I was going to, the Veterans Hospital. And it wasn't so far from the place where I was going to get therapy, which is in Midtown in New York City. So I went to check out this place. So big shout out to Sato Karate. That's where I went. And, I found it so therapeutic. No pun intended, but so therapeutic because when I was there, it's like I was in the moment. I had to be present just to be able to keep up with everything that they were teaching us and everything that they were having us do. And at least for that 1 hour when I went, I just forgot about everything. But the other thing for me was what they taught me, right? And I mean, there's so many things, but I learned this principle, right, which is very familiar, and actually I think it's pretty common among all martial arts, which is the principle of Kaizen, right, which is constant improvement. And, the instructors taught us, yes, you want to practice, you want to develop this Kaizen mentality with your katas, with your moves, but you also want to employ that in your personal life. Like, how can I be a better human? How, as a professional, how can I be a better professional? Always seeking ways to be better. And I felt like that was like an epiphany, right? Like, I felt like martial arts, when it comes to Kaizen and self-improvement and constantly being better, and just taking that self-improvement mentality in martial arts as a person, as a professional, was in perfect alignment with therapy, right? Because the reason why I was going to therapy is to be better, right? Find a way to be better, and find a way to heal myself. And so my journey started around 2020. So now we're fast forwarding. And in that process, I decided to leave karate and actually started doing jiu-jitsu. And I am now doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai out of the Hensel Gracie Academy in New York City. But again, it's that Kaizen principle and seeing people that are just relentless, to constantly being better at their craft, right? It inspired me. And, I feel like that marriage for me between martial arts and mental health and seeking help and doing therapy has been one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I'm not saying that I've hit, a moment of enlightenment, nirvana, by no means. But I can say that I am in a much better place than I was in 2019. I've been able to make peace with, everything that happened to my life. I've been able to take ownership, of the things that I did wrong, apologize, and be able to learn from my therapist new mental frameworks that I now use to be a better person, to treat myself better, to treat other people better. And I think when I think about it, mentally and emotionally, that's great. But when you couple that with martial arts, and for me as a veteran, one of the things I missed the most about being in the Marine Corps was that sense of camaraderie, right? And being with other like-minded people. And honestly, like, being inspired by other people that are even more motivated than you, more driven. Like, I don't know. For me, I always like being in environments where there's people like that, because that just pushes me to level up and keep up. And I can't tell you the big, the changes that I've experienced in my life. And, that is what really led me to the origin of MMA marketing, and why I decided to leave my leave my career as a behavioral science researcher and use everything I've learned to help Fortune 500 companies grow, and pour it all into you guys, because this is the way I see it. If I help you grow your schools, you will be able to reach out more people. And I want you to reach out more people and for them to do martial arts, because I want them to experience the transformation that I experience. I want them to reap the benefits that I reap. Oh, listen, that is MMA's marketing origin story. That is my story. That is why I decided to serve you and help you grow your martial arts school. And yes, divorce was one of the most painful moments in my life. But if I look at it, it was also one of the best things that ever happened to me. Unfortunately, and not uncommon for me, I had to get smacked around by life and knocked down on my butt to really feel the pain and serve that as a catalyst to seek the help that I needed, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I was able to obtain that with therapy and martial arts. So that really helped me, have this inner and outer transformation, right? On the outside, being a little bit better at defending myself, but in the inside, which for me is the most important, being able to transform my life for the better. And if you, martial arts school owner, have that same mission to help people have inside out transformations, I want to help you. And well, if you found this useful, I would have one favor for you to do for me. Please subscribe, like, and share this, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, guys. See ya.